think we can start.
Sure, Kavita.
So thank you so much, Pallavi, for joining in. And everyone, thank you so much for being here. So welcome to day 2 of TestMu Conference 2025. I'm sure you have already taken away some great insights from day 1. And yes, today also we have more exciting sessions and conversations lined up for you. So please stay tuned. So I'm Kavita Joshi. I'll be your host for this session on Code It Forward, Making Your Mark in Open Source. It's my pleasure to introduce our speaker for this session, Pallavi Sharma. She's the founder of 5 Elements Learning and also a committer to Selenium projects. She's a seasoned technology leader and a committer to Selenium projects. Also, with the extensive experience in automation, testing, and community building, Pallavi has inspired many professionals to actively contribute and give back to the open source community. In today's talk, Pallavi will walk us through how open source contributions can accelerate your professional journey, like from learning, networking to building visibility. She'll also share real world examples and practical ways to get started, even if you are not contributing code. So, like before we start, just a quick reminder, please drop your questions in the Q&A box and we'll be addressing them towards the end if time permits. Also, don't forget to share your key learnings and takeaways on social media using the hashtag TestMuConf and win exciting prizes. So having said that, Pallavi, the deck is yours.
Thank you so much, Kavita. Thank you for the kind introduction. Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for joining the session. And thank you, everyone at Lambda Test, for bringing together the third year of TestMu Conference. It is indeed a humongous effort, and day 1 was very exciting. I really liked Angie Jones' talk and Simon Stewart's talk. So, with all the hoopla of AI going around, I commend you all that you have taken some time out from the AI talks and all that, brainstorming sessions, and you have come here to hear me talk about how we can contribute to open source and why we should do that and why is it important. So we have around 25 minutes. Let's make the most of it. So I'll be sharing my slides. I hope you all can see it. Okay, so is it visible, Kavita? Okay, thank you so much. So hey everyone, my name is Pallavi Sharma. I am a founder at 5 Elements Learning and Mosaic Words. I have around close to now 18 years of experience in this field. I'm a committed to Selenium project. I'm a published author of around multiple books on Selenium, and my latest book is on Nightwatch, Test Automation with Nightwatch. I have been a coach. I train people and coach people on open source tools and technologies in the field of test automation. And I'm also a recognized Google Women Tech Ambassador. So today we are basically going to talk about and understand the world of open source. Why should we contribute to open source? How does it benefits us? How do we get started with these contributions and maybe explore a few projects where we can start the contribution? Now let us look at the world of open source. There has been a report which has been a study done by the Open Source Security and Risk Analysis, which basically states that 96% of the code bases which are used around the world, which are being built, have close to 96% of those code bases has open source components. That's a pretty large number. The GitHub Octopus report basically states that 97% of the apps use open source software. You might remember that there was a security glitch which was found in the log4 shell component, log4j, and almost 3 billion devices got impacted because of it. This is just to state that those many devices were on a software which was using an open source component. So sometimes we don't realize the impact the open source software components have. And there is a very famous FOSS project, 𝐾𝐬. And if you look at this particular website, you will find out that almost 200 companies are listed there which use 𝐾𝐬. And if you are on internet, you are using 𝐾𝐬. So what exactly is an open source software? It's a development model where the source of the code is made freely available for anyone to view, modify, and distribute it, but under some licensing terms. It's imperative and it is important to understand what licensing term your open source solution or open source software which you are consuming or you would like to contribute back to is using, so that you are aware that you are not causing any infringement to the license. At the same time, if you have decided to contribute to that source code, what are your rights? Generally, we call them as OSS, which is open source software, or free open source software. The word free in here is important. It is free as in freedom, not free as in freeware, which basically we want to say that the software is free for anyone to use, but the people who are working behind the scenes to make that software usable may or may not be working for free. They might be volunteers to the project. At the same time, it is important to respect that those people are contributing their time and resources, or the organizations which are backing those open source projects are contributing their time and resources in any form. Could be monetary, could be supporting their website, could be somewhat supporting their community building initiatives, but they are all contributing back to the open source software. There are various foundations which exist which basically host some of these open source projects, like the Linux Foundation, Apache Foundation. If some of you here use Selenium, then Selenium is basically hosted by Software Freedom Conservancy, so on and so forth. Like WebDriver IO is hosted by, if I'm not wrong, the JavaScript Foundation. So there are various foundations which exist, which basically become the home for these open source software projects. Like I said, we should be aware of the type of licenses which the projects are using. We might have a permissive license like the Apache license, which is basically trying to tell us that it's flexible and you can basically use and modify this code as it is, as long as you tell that this is a license which is used. Sometimes we have more stringent license where we say that it is a copy left license. Sometimes we don't have any licensing as such. All rights are waived, and we call this as Creative Commons Zero license. So it's important to understand what type of licenses are available. And let's say if you yourself are a creator to some source code or anything which you would like to put outside to the world, you could be aware of these are the licenses you can make your work available on. Now, why should we contribute to open source and how it benefits? Let's again have a look at the state of report. There are more than multiple organizations of various types which participate in open source. Organizations which have more than 5,000 and more employees, you can see the number is more than 25%. Even early stage startup, you can see a significant number is there on the screen, which shows us that from multiple MNCs to early stage startup, everywhere open source software is found. Then I basically thought, okay, let me also conduct a short survey within my network to understand how many of us are using open source tool. Well, my network is based largely on open source tools, so this could be a little biased, but the other reports are not. So, having said that, more than 80% of the people were using open source tools for work, but on that, around 50% or so were not contributing back to the open source. And the reasons are best known to them. Time is one of the reasons. Not knowing that they can also contribute back to open source could be another reason. Another could be various other factors depending upon how motivated you are to basically go and contribute to something and make a larger impact. Sometimes we are not aware that there are organizations out there. For example, Lambda Test is one such organization which basically has an open source office. So some organizations like Lambda Test, Browser Stack, Source Labs, and Microsoft and various other organizations have open source offices where they basically hire people who can work and contribute to open source because these organizations themselves are consumer of that software. So maybe your management or your office would think about providing resources or hiring people. Let's say you are a user of any open source tool, let's say APM, maybe you can talk to your manager that once in a week you can go back and contribute to the project. Maybe while doing your work, you found something which could benefit the community at large if you give it back to the project. Why not go and talk to your manager about it? So we are all very much aware the how we can, why we should contribute to open source. Again, if I have not said it enough, we should know that when we are using open source software, we are not bound by any, there is no vendor lock-in. We are outside of it, so there is no license cost we are paying. We basically are able to modernize our technology stack, we reduce vendor lock-in, and we are able to get faster releases, and we have access to latest innovation and technology. At the same time, we can create our own wrappers on that existing solution and modify it according to our needs. So we can tailor the open source solution which we are using for our project, which may not be possible with commercial tools out there. Now the question arises how we can contribute to open source. What is that we can do and where to get started? Well, it's a common misnomer that coding is the only way to contribute back to open source. Rather, some people say that it is one of the easiest way to do it. A lot of work in the open source world stays on the documentation side, on the education side, on talking about open source, on teaching people how to use open source. And the community can largely benefit both the project and the community if we know how we can contribute. First of all, we should be able to search for the right project where we would like to contribute. One of the best ways is that if you are a user of that project, then that's the best way. You can go and search where that project is hosted, what are the rules that projects stay by. Most of the projects have a contributing document through their website or on their GitHub repo where they basically clearly list up steps where you can contribute. Any contribution done to that project isn't small. Every contribution counts. Whether you are improving something in the documentation, you have fixed a bug which exists in the project, you are participating in the project through their conferences and meetups, you are building modules to teach around that project, or if you would like, help the project with your monetary contribution. So there are various ways through which you can become a contributor to the open source project. Most of the open source projects follow this journey. First of all, we are generally users of that project. We are reader or passive user to that project. Then we can start our journey to become a contributor. You can become a contributor. Let's say you have encountered a bug and you have clearly went to the GitHub repo and given a clear instructions and reported a bug. You have went ahead and then fixed that bug. You have started developing components of the open source project to take it forward. So from Selenium 1 to now we will be going on to Selenium 5. There are some significant number of volunteers and resources who are working behind the scenes to bring us that. So we are actively developing and moving forward with the project. Like we just had the beta release for APM. Eventually, you can become a core member of the project. Again, there are various roles you can take. You can become a committer, and if you keep on showing up for the project and you gain the trust of the people behind the project, you move on to become a maintainer of the project and then maybe go on to lead the project. The project or the people who created Selenium or WebDriver some time ago, they are not the current leaders of the Selenium project. The leaders are different. The teams are different now. The project kept moving forward because the other people came and joined the project. Now, this is a very simple, we all must be familiar if you are using GitHub in any form. you have to identify where your project is there. Let's say your project is there on a GitHub. So you go ahead and you create a fork of it. You are able to clone it, and then you create a new branch. You work on your branch. You go ahead, commit and push, and you submit the pull request for someone to review it. That's a very simple process. And while doing so, you learn a lot of different tools and technologies which that project is using, which can also help you in your work. Now I'm going to showcase to you three different projects which are all linked to Selenium. One is Selenium itself. The other is because lot of talks have been happening now since past 5 years around AI. So if that is your area of interest and automation is also of your area of interest, there are different open source projects which are in their nascent stages, which are getting built using the technology of automation, open source, and AI. And one of the ways to learn about it also is to look at how these projects are getting built and maybe go ahead and contribute to them. So that's what we are going to quickly have a look at. So let me stop sharing here and I will show you the GitHub repos of these projects and maybe try to take you with some workflow where I can tell you that this is where you can contribute. So I hope you all can see my screen. Okay. So here we are at the Selenium project. This is the Selenium HQ. You can note down the GitHub repo. So it basically informs us that it's one big project and it has got multiple repositories. Each of these repositories, most of these repositories are open for contribution. Some of them were could be just content, but large number of these repositories here which are available is open for contribution. The Selenium main repo, which basically shares the different client bindings for Python, Java, C Sharp. So let's say Ruby is your language of choice. You are using Ruby to build test automation framework. A great way is also that you can go ahead and look at the Selenium Ruby bindings and find a way to contribute to the project. Let's say you are very much keen on using Docker Selenium, then you can go ahead and explore the Docker Selenium repository. Or let's say you are interested in fixing issues with the Selenium IDE, the record and playback, then you can go ahead and look at that repository. Now let's look at the main Selenium repository. If we look at it here, most of any good mature project will have a README document, a code of conduct, and a contributing section. You should first of all look at the README section to understand what is that project is talking about, how you can install and build it. It's important that when we are trying to contribute to an open source project, our local environment should have supporting libraries. We should be able to have have the local environment created as the project requires it, so that we can overcome these hassles or these errors, and we can then identify where we can contribute and start doing that. So through this, you can also learn how Selenium itself gets built up. You can go ahead, go through these steps and look at the contributing documentation. The contributing documentation basically says where and how the project welcomes contribution through the bug reports, through raising feature requests, by contributing to the documentation of Selenium. Now, let us say that we want to go ahead and make our contribution. Now, where and how we can find issues. So, if you click on the issues, you will find a lot of issues which are listed out there. Some projects use different labels to mark where and how that particular issue is, whether that issue is for, let's say, only Java or .NET, or it is also in Python. Sometimes we find issues which are impacting all client bindings. Here you can basically look at a flag called as or a label called as a good first issue. Let me find that. Okay. Well, so if we are able to find out a good first issue, then, sorry, I'm just missing it. Here it is. Okay, so here you can have a look at, okay, so for example, this is a feature request which is raised in this project, which is stating that they want to unify the select class, which is your drop-down element across all bindings. So across all bindings, there is a feature request available. So let's say you are good in Ruby and you would like to contribute to the Ruby bindings. So you can open that issue, go through the conversation, try to identify where the files are. Now it also becomes a good use case to learn and take help of AI because this code was generated or has been there since 2 decades now. So it becomes difficult to find your way around. I have found AI of a lot of help because sometimes I can just open up a file, give it to the model, I mean, whatever tool I'm using, and I can ask it to basically help me explain it, and it does. And through that, I'm able to find my way around. Okay, this is where I can go ahead and fix an issue, and this is where I should now go ahead and create a test file so that things work. Now that is for Selenium. Now let's have a look at another project called as Aluminium. Uh, to basically get started with this, I would sincerely request you to go and hear the talk by its creator Alex, which happened in the recent Selenium conference. It was one wonderful talk, and he basically explains what this project is all about, which is basically paving the way towards AI powered test automation. This project is comparatively new than Selenium, so the code base is not that dense, and there are again issues which are listed in here, and there are flags or the labels which basically says that these are good first issues. So you can identify which particular issue you might be interested in contributing to the project, and at the same time learn the concepts of artificial intelligence, automation, how such solutions are getting built, and master your own programming skills. So this project is built using Python as a language, and there are a lot of good first issues which are listed, and you will be helping making a library. If you have heard Angie's talk yesterday, and maybe in Selenium conference, she speaks about an MCP implementation for Selenium WebDriver. So this project also is comparatively new than Selenium, and there are already a few people who have started contributing to this project, and some people are watching it as well. You can go ahead and read through this project to find out or to understand, since the code or the source code is open, it can be a very good way for you to learn. So for example, I can go ahead and go to the library and go to the server.js file, which is basically the MCP server, and I can look through the code and see, okay, how is this MCP server over Selenium is created. This is created as a JavaScript. You can choose another language. And I can see, okay, this is acting as a wrapper around Selenium functions itself. So let's say you want to click an element. Okay, so this is how the server in this library, we have a wrapper functions available. So we are basically learning how a model context server is built, and you can contribute to this project or maybe build your own by looking at the code here. So there is a lot of benefit when you have access to this code, and you have access to such brains who are building this code and making it available for all of us to see. So that's a wonderful initiative, and you can go ahead and contribute to this library as well and take this MCP implementation for Selenium WebDriver forward, or maybe make your own if that's what you would like to do. So we have seen in here some of the projects where we can basically, go ahead and contribute and uh, identify the areas or places where we can work, and at the same time learn while doing so. So that's all what I wanted to talk about today. If you have any questions, you can feel free to let me know. We still have 5 minutes. If anyone has any question they would like to ask.
Thank you so much, Pallavi, for that insightful session. It was truly inspiring to learn about impact of open source and how we can all play a role in contributing there. So I
Thank you,
think we can
Kavita.
take up a few questions. We have still 4 minutes to go.
Yeah. The best way for someone new to open source to make a meaningful first contribution. I would, thanks for your question, Kunal. I would first say that we can remove the word meaningful from here. Any contribution is a good contribution to open source. So uh, don't be critical that whatever contribution I would want to do should be meaningful. Go ahead, make a start, identify the issue. My first contribution to Selenium project was I wrote a code for upload file dialog, upload a file basically. So that was my first contribution. Through documentation, I was able to reach the code, and that's how I started. A lot of people start through that, uh, through documentation. So as you get aware of, because you don't know those people, you don't know the project structure, so it is not something which is very easy. So there is a lot of self learning also we have to do. So go ahead and start. Remove the word meaningful, just have the first contribution in mind.
That's great. Let's take up the second question.
Sure. What are the first steps for beginners to start contributing to open source project? I think the first step should be that you are able to identify which project interests you, excites you, and there is something you have identified where you can go ahead and contribute back to. I can share some links later. There are some links which talks about that there are various projects which are open for contribution, and you can identify projects from there and you can start contributing to them. But one of the best ways which people who work on open source or people who contribute to open source are generally those people who are basically are the users of those projects, or they had some problem and they wanted to fix it, as in they created their own open source projects. So that would be my answer.
Thank you, Pallavi. Let's move on to the next.
Sure. What common mistakes should new contributors avoid in their first pull request? I think uh, there are no such defined rules to don't delete something which exists. Uh, Sometimes we although the projects are now mature enough and they don't give such rights, but don't make a contribution which causes or jeopardizes the project's security. Be mindful and be careful that your contribution is for the well-being of the project, for taking the project forward. That would be my suggestion.
Let's take the last question for the day.
Sure, Kavita. How do you identify the right open source project that matches your skills and interest? Thanks for the question, Hannah. I think I answered that if you are a user of that project, then that definitely is one of the right way to identify that project because you are already using it. Another way could be, let's say, a language, a programming language of your choice, or maybe a problem of your choice, and you have figured out, okay, this is a particular project which is based upon, let's say, a particular programming language, and that interests you. So it's a great way to learn. For example, let's say people want to learn what is model context protocol, how to build their own MCP servers. Then the project by NG is a great project. And similarly, you can identify your project either through a user or your own interest of, let's say, learning or knowing a programming language or a particular problem area where you find that there exist open source solutions. That could be the way. And like I said, there are links available. I will share that with the team and they can share it across. Will that be okay, Kavita?
Sure, we can do that.
Okay.
So thank you so much, Pallavi, for taking up the questions. Also, due to time constraints, we may not be able to address all the questions. So you can add the questions to the Lambda test community, and we'll be happy to answer them there.
Okay. Thank you,
So
everyone.
thank
Thank
you
you so
so
much,
much.
Kavita.
Yeah, thank you so much for that wonderful session, Pallavi, and thank you to all the audience who have joined us today. If you happen to miss any of the sessions, don't worry. All the recordings will be available on our Lambda Test official YouTube channel once the conference wraps up. You can revisit your favorite talk anytime. Thank you so much.